Malcolm X, a name that still echoes across generations, a voice that refused to be silenced, and a vision that challenged the world to see the truth. More than half a century after his assassination in 1965, his words, speeches, and predictions remain chillingly relevant. Today, many of the warnings he gave about racism, economic injustice, media manipulation, and the internal betrayal of Black movements are not only still happening, they've intensified. This documentary explores the foresight of Malcolm X. We will unpack his most iconic speeches, analyze his warnings to Black America, and compare them with the present-day realities in the United States and across the globe. From political co-optation to cultural exploitation, from mass incarceration to media distractions, Malcolm saw it all coming. As we journey through time, remember this: Malcolm X didn't just fight against white supremacy, he fought for Black dignity, economic power, and global solidarity. He saw that the struggle wasn't just civil, it was human. He urged us to wake up, to think critically, and to stop depending on systems that were never built for our freedom. In this documentary, we'll show how Malcolm X's words were not just a warning, they were a map of resistance, a map of pride, a map of truth. So join us as we take a powerful journey through the life and mind of a man who tried to warn us and show how it's all happening now. Malcolm Little was born in 1925 into a world that was already hostile to his very existence. His father, Earl Little, a Baptist preacher and follower of Marcus Garvey, was murdered by white supremacists. His mother, Louise, was institutionalized after years of struggle and trauma. Malcolm's early life was a harsh introduction to the systemic racism that plagued Black America. After a troubled youth and imprisonment, Malcolm underwent a spiritual transformation in jail, joining the Nation of Islam. Emerging as Malcolm X, he became the voice of radical Black resistance. He rejected the nonviolent approach of the mainstream civil rights movement, instead advocating for self-defense, racial pride, and economic independence. Malcolm's early rhetoric was often labeled extreme, especially his critique of white America and call for separation rather than integration. Yet beneath the fire of his words lay a deep understanding of power, media, and psychological warfare. He knew that America's problem wasn't just racism. It was white supremacy woven into every institution. Over time, Malcolm evolved. His 1964 break with the Nation of Islam allowed him to embrace a broader, more inclusive vision of liberation. His trip to Mecca transformed his understanding of race and unity. He began to see the Black struggle in the U.S. as part of a global fight against colonialism and imperialism. But this evolution made him even more dangerous. He could no longer be boxed in as just a radical or Black nationalist. He was now a Pan-African, anti-imperialist, and independent thinker with a growing influence. And that's when the most powerful forces moved against him. Malcolm X repeatedly warned us about the media. In one of his most famous quotes, he said, "The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent. And that's power, because they control the minds of the masses." That statement couldn't be more relevant today. In the 1960s, the media painted Malcolm as a violent extremist while praising the more acceptable civil rights leaders. Today, mainstream platforms still manipulate Black narratives, deciding who gets the spotlight, who becomes a spokesperson, and what stories get told. Revolutionary voices are often silenced, while celebrity figures are elevated to distract and pacify the masses. Social media has become a modern tool of both empowerment and deception. While platforms like Twitter and Instagram have allowed activists to connect and organize, they have also become places where misinformation thrives and genuine movements get diluted by trends and commercialism. Just as Malcolm feared, we are living in a time when the media, now powered by algorithms, shapes how we see ourselves and each other. Corporations profit off Black culture while continuing to marginalize Black communities. The commodification of Black pain, the rise of performative allyship, and the obsession with surface-level representation over deep systemic change. All of it was foretold. Malcolm warned that without control over our own media, education, and institutions, we would continue to be misled. One of Malcolm X's most controversial yet insightful critiques was his warning about the Negro bourgeoisie, the elite black figures who were handpicked by white institutions to serve as gatekeepers. In his words, "You're not going to get anywhere by pretending that you're with the white man and his program. That's just a token. That's the house Negro." Malcolm spoke often about the difference between the field Negro and the house Negro. The field Negro was the rebel, the oppressed, the one who saw no benefit in the master's house. The house Negro was comfortable, loyal, and afraid of upsetting the system. Fast forward to today, and we see Malcolm's warning play out clearly. From politics to entertainment, there are countless examples of black leaders, influencers, and celebrities who are elevated because they pose no real threat to the status quo. Malcolm feared that the revolutionary energy of black people would be co-opted by those seeking proximity to power rather than the liberation of their people. And now, we see corporations sponsoring social justice campaigns while funding politicians who uphold systemic racism. We see grassroots movements hijacked by branding, slogans stripped of substance, and real activists pushed aside for marketable icons. What Malcolm knew is this: not all skinfolk are kinfolk. His warning was not about division, it was about discernment, about being careful who we follow, and making sure that our leaders are accountable to the people, not the powerful. Another urgent warning Malcolm gave was about economic power, or the lack of it, in the black community. You can't have capitalism without racism. He believed that economic freedom was the cornerstone of true liberation. He spoke about the importance of owning businesses, controlling our resources, and building wealth within our communities. Today, the racial wealth gap remains enormous. Black families in the U.S. have a fraction of the wealth of white families. Economic redlining, gentrification, predatory lending, and discriminatory hiring practices continue to hold us back. Malcolm X stressed self-reliance, not as an excuse for the system's failures, but as a means of survival and resistance. He advocated for group economics, land ownership, cooperative ventures, and international trade with African nations. Yet even in 2025, we see an economy that still exploits black labor while denying black people access to generational wealth. From the prison industrial complex to wage disparities, Malcolm's analysis remains tragically accurate. His push for economic power was not just about money. It was about dignity, independence, and control over our future. Malcolm X didn't die of old age. He was assassinated, and his death, like those of Martin Luther King Jr., Fred Hampton, and others, was not just a tragic moment. It was part of a pattern. He warned us, if you stand for truth, if you organize the people, if you expose the system, you will become a target. The FBI's COINTELPRO program sought to neutralize black leaders. They infiltrated movements, spread disinformation, and sowed discord. Malcolm knew he was being watched. He knew informants were close. And yet, he never backed down. Today, the surveillance state is bigger than ever. Modern activists are tracked, monitored, and labeled as threats. The same tactics used to destroy Malcolm's movement are being used against new generations. And infiltration isn't just physical, it's digital. Algorithms decide what's visible. Bots spread lies. Private firms surveil protests. Governments label community defenders as domestic terrorists. Malcolm's warning wasn't paranoia, it was prophecy. The system fears organized, informed, and united black people. Malcolm X warned us about the media, about false leaders, about economic traps, about surveillance, about complacency, and about the need to be mentally, spiritually, and politically free. And now, in 2025, we see it all unfolding before our eyes. So what do? We do what Malcolm did. We think critically. We challenge systems. We organize locally. We educate ourselves and others. We build economically. We connect globally. We defend our communities. We tell our own stories. We must also reclaim Malcolm not just as a historical figure, but as a living legacy. Not just a face on a t-shirt, but a voice in our strategy meetings, in our classrooms, in our barbershops and boardrooms. We must honor his warning by refusing to be silent, by refusing to be manipulated, by refusing to settle. Malcolm X was not just a man of his time. He is a man for all time. And the greatest tribute we can pay to him is not to mourn his death, but to live his truth. Because he didn't just warn us. He gave us the blueprint. Thank you for watching this documentary. If Malcolm X's words moved you, if this truth stirred something inside you, don't let it stop here. Share this video. Start conversations. Study his speeches. Support real leaders doing the work. And most of all, stay awake. Because Malcolm X warned us. And now, it's happening.